Poder sonoro en constante evolución, incluyente y plural.
Star Rock, Gritaradio.
Gritaradio. Señal binaria en tus oídos.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, my name is Axel Barcelo, and this is another remote session of Estante, the weekly radio show that actually I am very, very excited because I just realized that we are just a few months from being 30 years on the air, which is actually pretty cool. And I'm very glad that I was reminded of it just recently. But today we have a very, very special pair of guests, and I'm really happy to have them. You're in Seattle right now, right?
We are, yes.
Yeah, we live here. Yeah.
So directly from Seattle, it is the Society of the Silver Cross. Welcome, Joe. Welcome, Karin. Welcome to Gritaradio.
Hello, thank you for having us today.
So it is the Society of the Silver Cross or just Society of the Silver Cross, or does it make a difference?
It's just Society of the Silver Cross. Yeah.
There's no the.
No, any particular reason?
I don't know.
It's shorter without the.
There's already a lot of words.
Yes.
And where did the name come from? How did you become the Society of the Silver Cross?
Well, we were in Amsterdam playing some shows, and we were just sort of forming the band. And we didn't really have a name officially. We were just doing it under Joe's name because he'd been working on some solo songs, and I was accompanying him. So it wasn't quite Society of the Silver Cross yet, but this is how it became. And we saw a really cool painting at the Rijksmuseum, and it was a medic from the Dutch army, and just real interesting painting that drew us both in. And the title was Society of the Silver Cross, and we thought, oh, that's a cool name. We should remember that. And then, a little while later, when we were deciding to officially form this band, we decided to go with that name, and it resonated with us because we really think of music as being healing and medicine for people, sort of like medicine on the battlefield for today's world. So it seemed like the perfect name to go with for all of the reasons.
Did you do more research about why behind the painting, why the painting was called the Society of the Silver Cross, or you just, after you saw it, you didn't think about it anymore until it became your name?
I've looked for it. I've looked for information, and there's nothing. I keep getting websites for like medical foundations and things, and I'm like, it's not that. Yeah. I was actually thinking of contacting the museum to ask if they could, share anything else.
So how long was that? And so it's been recent that you've been using this name.
Well, it's probably about a decade ago, 10 years.
That was maybe in 2016.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think. Yeah. When we saw that, but we didn't kind of form the band maybe till the following year.
I know you write in the message, in the information that we received about the importance that your traveling to India was also to your sound and to the identity of the band. But you also are just talking right now about being in Amsterdam. So is traveling in general also an important concept, an important notion behind the identity of the Society of the Silver Cross, or is there something special about traveling to India?
Well, for us, I think it just has that connection of something greater than ourselves, and that's what we are kind of striving for in the music, because we feel like the music and songs don't really come from us, they come through us. And I think, in traveling, I believe that it opens up our worlds a little bit more, so we can see the other cultures and we can hear the music, and and it's about the people, the art, and the food, I think. And that's one of the things that we loved about playing in Mexico, because we played in Mexico a handful of shows right before the pandemic. So it was the very first start of 2020. And gosh, we just connected with the people. So it was just incredible. Like some of the people that we met there, and experiences we had, it was amazing playing there, and we plan to come back for sure.
What
we
have you?
love traveling in general, and India is a special place because of the spiritual teachings there, and we've both been longtime meditators, so we just tend to gravitate to places that embody that. And it's just everywhere you go in India, it's just full of that wonderful energy, and people are so open.
Yeah, I
Much
can.
like
Yeah, Mexico it's
Yeah.
interesting. There's a similar vibe to people there, an openness and a connection that people seem to have right away. It's really lovely.
What have you heard about Mexico before coming?
Yeah, I've been there before, just
Oh.
for fun.
Mm.
Yeah.
My only experience was Tijuana, and that's not, it's technically in Mexico, but it was nothing like Mexico City. Yeah, nothing like it. It was just amazing, Mexico City.
Yeah, but I'm not surprised at all that Mexicans are connecting with your music. I can also see a lot of the connections, and you're right that spirituality and darkness are very, very much a part of our everyday culture, right? We don't even think of it as spirituality or darkness, just to of our own view of the world. But was it different for you? Was it like something that you found hard to relate to other people there in, I don't know if you grew up in Seattle as well, but when you were growing up, was also something difficult to find like kindred spirits to share your interest in this kind of music and in this kind of culture?
Well, we found that, like, yeah, there are some, but they're more in other places instead of our hometown, because, I don't know, whatever. Like Seattle, it's teched out pretty hard with Amazon and Microsoft and all of that. And there are great music fans here, and we have a great music scene here. But I would say that, like, we're feeling the love a lot more in other countries right now. So we're just going to go where the love is.
But you plan to stay living in Seattle?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. There's kind of a different energetic footprint all over the globe, whether it's some kind of energy from the earth in that spot, the culture, different traditions and practices of people. And yeah, I think there is something about, your deeper connections don't always have to be right in your home. Sometimes you find these little spots around the globe that just for whatever reason, there's a stronger resonance. Yeah, I find that fascinating.
How about you two each other? How did you two meet?
We met through a friend, a mutual friend who we're still friends with. And he was having a Christmas dinner party for people, misfits and whatnot. And we both ended up making our way there. Neither of us really wanted to go and kind of got drugged by somebody else. But the good thing is we ended up sitting next to each other at the table, and we just ended up eating the dinner and just talking for a very long time, realizing we had a lot in common. So.
And then basically I went over Karen's house and never left.
Oh,
kind of like a puppy does, Woof.
and how soon did your collaboration become musical?
Not for a handful of years because we've both been longtime musicians, but we didn't just start playing right away for some reason. And maybe the time wasn't right. We met in 2011, but we didn't really start playing till maybe like 5 years after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you knew of each other's music. You would listen and you hear them
Yeah.
practice together and still. So what made a difference? What changed that then you said like, no, maybe we should try doing
Well,
something together.
it was weird just when we just started, like, I don't even know how that actually happened, but I know the first time that we actually started to play music together, we wrote a song in our little apartment in Seattle called "When You're Gone," which it to this day is one of our biggest songs. Yeah, it was from our last record.
And it wrote itself almost like it
Yeah.
almost just happened instantly, which is not always the case for songs. So I think it was a little gift to say, hey, you guys should check this out. If it'd been a real struggle, we might not have pursued it, but it was so effortless. And yeah, and it got us kind of interested. And we did start playing in preparation for that trip to Europe that included Amsterdam, because Joe had written some music on his own, and he wanted me to accompany him. He wanted to do acoustic tour, and so I thought, well, I could play keys, but we have to have an acoustic instrument of some kind. So we had a harmonium. We
Oh,
thought, well, this would work really well. Let's try this. So when we were preparing for that show, I was just kind of learning some of these songs, but then that's when we just wrote "When You're Gone," and then there was that little spark of like, huh, that's interesting. That's a little different sounding than anything here. Like, let's keep exploring that. And then when we were on that Europe trip, we did start, on our days off or a little bit of time in a hotel room, we started just playing around more, and we had a little tape recorder, and we recorded the ideas. I think it was before our phones could even record things, maybe because we had a little handheld recorder.
Yeah.
But we just started realizing there was something interesting there that we wanted to explore. So yeah.
so what
And
happened to, I'm sorry.
I just want to jump in and just say that on the Mexico trip, we had a day off and we started to write, and I know this for a fact, we started to write our song by the Millions. And
Oh,
so that began in Mexico City, that
Mhm.
those bones of that song began there. And By the Millions is on our new record.
I know. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that's kind of a cool Mexican, uh, uh, actual Mexican connection with this song. Yeah.
But going back to those early songs you wrote together, what happened to Joe's song? What happened to your songs that you had just written and you were going to present in Europe? They just became shelved, or what happened? Did they
Well, you know how
apply for
songs kind of like they'll kind of butterfly in and out of your thing. So Karen and I had like, they were a little bit more kind of rock, or it's somewhat in the singer-songwriter vein too. And what we were more interested in was some of the music that we were creating together other than my solo stuff. So that's what kind of happened to those songs. They're still there, but they haven't been released or anything like that. And um I want to say, weren't we playing a Judas Priest cover
We
on
did.
that trip?
We did do a
We
Judas
played,
Priest
it
cover
was killer.
with a solo on the harmonium,
With the
which is
solo on the harmonium, we played "Heading Out to the Highway"
yeah, that's what it
from
was.
Judas Priest
Yeah.
on that tour acoustically with the harmonium and acoustic guitar, and it was rad.
It was pretty
So
good.
it was,
Yeah. I'd love to relearn that. And,
yeah, I'd
just
like
bust
to.
it out one night out of nowhere for a show.
Yeah, it was killer.
But I think Joe should put those songs out as a solo project still. I mean, he played something the other day. It came, just found it on his computer and like played a little bit of it. I was like, these are really good. They're good songs. They're just very different than what we were doing, so we felt like we had to separate the two projects into, two different things, but yeah, they were strong songs. And
So then how did this new sound, where did it come from? Why, when you were writing together, suddenly the music was different?
well, I mean, I think we have different styles and backgrounds. Joe's got most of his bands were more, rock, and he's a really good songwriter, and he does really great structures and kind of catchy things. And I'm a lot more into like the dark music, and I have that background, and I'm very much a flow person in that way. Like, I don't care if it doesn't have a traditional song structure or lyric, or a hook, or like, I'm more about connecting to like an emotion and just sort of playing with it. And so I think combined, we had these two different interesting perspectives that we found a middle ground in, where there's, it's maybe a little less traditional, but there's also, it's still relatable. It's not like we're just making a bunch of weird noises up there and, going crazy, but yeah, and it felt like it was its own energy. Like, I've always felt like this music has its own consciousness in a way.
Yeah.
Might sound kind of weird, but it feels like it is another, like a third party, and then we're here like with the assignment to try to figure these puzzles out of like, what do you want to say? Like, okay, should we do it like this or that? And I also think the harmonium changes things a lot. It's a very different sounding instrument. It's not at all very, it doesn't have any Western sound to it. It really has a resonant drone that I think can be conducive to just kind of opening up the door to, other exploratory ideas with music than when you're just using like guitars or, or a synthesizer. Yeah, I feel like that has shaped it a bit too. And it's because it's used for chanting traditionally, we wanted to, bring in that element of repetition and chanting, and these melodies that kind of take you into a hypnotic feeling. And so I think those factors definitely change it from being, more of a straightforward, Western type music, just naturally the elements.
And just to jump in about the harmonium, it you pump it with one hand and you play the keys with the other while you're pumping it. So what that does, when you have to play it with one hand, it limits your ability to play like all over the keyboard with two hands, right? So you have to maximize your limitations that way. And that's really, when you start to do that, that's really where you have to be creative in things. And like, creativity can kind of blossom when you have limitations like that. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. But who brought the instrument into the group? Were you already playing it before the?
Yeah, we had
We
a
had
couple
one
in our house.
at home,
Yeah.
just for chanting and use for meditation. So we just had one laying around.
And it was difficult to make this combination of like a more song structure tradition and this more free tradition. How did you find this middle ground that you're talking about?
I think the guitar kind of helped kind of pull that together, but the harmonium was like played like a huge part of it, because we wanted to, the guitar is more like, in nature, it's rhythmic. It's a rhythmic instrument that has melodic uh, sensibilities, and the harmonium's all kind of drone and melodic, so that's how those things, so the guitar was kind of playing the drum and the some of the other, the melodic sensibilities, and the harmonium is just like all drony, and so that kind of helped that,
And it's natural
in a way
for
that we didn't
me.
even realize that it was happening. Yeah.
Yeah. And it feels natural for me to stray from tradition because um, growing up, I played classical piano, and that music is very much almost like telling a story in movements and sonatas and things, and um, it doesn't have like a verse and a chorus and a hook and a bridge, and it's very much emotional, and it moves from one scene into another, and it just keeps going until it's complete. So i I enjoy that uh, openness with music, and I feel like maybe with paired with the harmonium and it's you know it's drawbacks and it's bonuses that kind of helped lend to some of the way that we play.
So given this openness that you want to embed in the music itself, how much of the live version is also dynamic? How much is there improvisation, or is the end result a very structured piece that includes already these kind of free elements, but at the same time it has a given structure?
It's definitely structured by the time we're
Finished with the
recording and playing
composition.
live. Yeah, it just takes a little while to figure out what that looks like. Yeah, and often the structures will change, or like we'll always write with our two kind of core instruments. But then when we get in the studio, a lot of times we'll bring in something else to carry a part where one of our instruments might disappear for a while, or, so we kind of get a bigger picture of other things that can come in and contribute. So it's all very, very crafted and deliberate by the time we finish it.
But now that you're talking about the studio, do you bring other people to collaborate once you are recording, or is it only the two of you?
Well, yeah, we have other people that come and play on the songs, like drums and percussion and different cameos. We did recently we did a writing collaboration with an artist named King Dude,
Mhm.
and that's called The Wife of the Sea, which came out a couple months ago.
Mhm.
And that was really fun. But yeah, so that's going to be an ongoing kind of collaboration series that we're doing called
It's a
Temple.
side project.
Yeah, but called Temple Hymns, which we have different artists come in and we collaborate with them. But for the most part, it's Karen and I, and then we just kind of bring in different, like, we have a full band when we play live, but like they'll either be our bandmates or other people that we want to play on things will come in and do that, like horns, like a saxophone or a drum set. Like we're neither of us are drummers, and you know, those kind of things.
But you tell them what to play, right? So you already made the arrangement and they're just playing it as you already
Yeah,
did.
pretty much. We like
Except for drums, we usually have
yeah,
to work those parts out
yeah,
in the
I
studio.
do a lot of like kick and snare patterns and things like that, even though we don't have more kick and tom patterns because our music doesn't really have a snare drum in it.
Only occasionally
Yeah, only
it
occasionally.
makes an
There's
appearance.
like one song that has a snare track on our new record.
Yeah, it's funny. One
Yeah,
time we were
so
looking for a bandmate, and we put an ad out, and it was for a drummer. And, because we have very kind of tribal rhythms and not a lot of snare drum. And the person responded and they were like, "Oh yeah, like I could really help you with these drums. I could just play all over the top of everything on every song." And we were like, "No,
no, you're not
you're
going
not understanding."
to.
I think they thought it needed a lot more snare drum.
No, but seriously, how do you find who to collaborate with, right? So you have the band that you're playing with live, which is more or less like top bottom. But now in this new series, what criteria have you used for finding new collaborators?
Well, we wanted people that kind of like run in our same lane musically, and then just availability and things like that. So, and
And for music is
yeah,
a good match.
and they, you know, we're not opposed to working with people that we don't know, but it's nice to know them a little bit before we, you know, decide to work together.
So, I mean, I know the series is ongoing, but so far the plan is people you have already met, even if you haven't played with, but you want to what?
Yeah,
Like, what is exactly?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Just sort of like, hey, we should write a song together sometime, you know, or those kind of things. And, you know, you know, so far it's been kind of an organic process. So we haven't really have a script for how or a itinerary of what we look for and things like that. But that's generally what it is.
It'll probably shift as we go along over time. We'll see how it unfolds. Yeah.
So you don't have like a very long-term plan that you're going to start this close, but maybe you will eventually be working like with people from all over the world.
Possibly. We'll see. We'll see what the project, where it takes us, what it wants to do.
No plans of working with any Mexican musician you met while you were here?
None so far, but that sounds really fun, actually.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would like that.
We have some fun friends that have from Mexico that have come and recorded in the studio before.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so the first time you came to Mexico, where did you play?
We played at in the cities. We played a couple shows in Mexico City. We played in
Jalapa.
Jalapa.
Mhm.
We played in Pueblo, and we played in another city up north. It
Starts
was
with a Q.
it's
Querétaro?
Gritara.
How do you say?
Querétaro. Querétaro.
Querétaro. Yes.
I totally butchered that. Yeah. But we played this really cool venue. It was like inside of a museum. It was a courtyard that was just
It
stuff
was
full
fun.
of people.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Sorry.
Sorry, I'm going off. I've got limited time
Okay,
today.
so I think we should wrap things up, right?
Yes,
Is
yeah.
there anything that we forgot to talk about, something that you want the Mexican audience to know about you?
Yes, that we love you so much, and we can't wait to come see all of your wonderful faces again.
Do you
Yes.
have any concrete plans, or this is just a general
They're in the
desire?
works.
They're in the works
works,
right now. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep my fingers closed that this becomes pretty soon, so I can watch it. I missed you the previous time, so hopefully we'll be able to see each other in person. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for using
Axel, thank you
Thank
so
you
much. Yeah,
so
it's
much.
been an absolute joy to speak with you today.
Well, I hope this is not the last time, just the first time. Muchísimas gracias. Ellos son Society of the Silver Cross. Esto es Estante de Gritaradio. Yo soy Axel Barceló. Muchísimas gracias.